Good morning and welcome to Tuesday Morning Live. It should be Monday Morning Live, but it's Tuesday today and we're going live once again. So welcome to Tuesday Morning Live. It's great to be with you this morning. I don't know about where you are, but it's really hot, really humid here. So the windows are open, the doors are open. So I do apologise for any background noise. Apologies also for our little bit of late start. My computer clock says one time when actually the real clock says a different time. And we've had a few technical difficulties this morning, but we're getting there. And this is Tuesday morning and we are live. Now, few things this morning. We're going to be sharing with you some of the news from around the country, some news about the church, some things that have been happening. But also today we're going to be looking at that friendship. Friendships that we've had during lockdown, some of the stories that we've heard. And we're going to be sharing with you with some of our team. It's delightful today. It's not just me that's going to be talking, but Sophie and Lisa are going to be sharing a bit of their experience of lockdown, a bit of their experience, some of the saints, some bits and pieces there as well. So it's great to be with us, and I am now just going to quite happily hand over to Sophie and Lisa. Good morning, how are you?
Hi, Sandy. That's great. Thanks, Sandy. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Sophie, and we also have Lisa here with us today. Lisa is another team member here at the Shrewsbury Youth Mission Team. So Lisa, last week, Sandy and I had a bit of a discussion about how our faith has developed during lockdown, how we've been engaging with the church and with prayer. Could you just share a little bit about what that's been like for you over the last few months?
Yeah, well, like everyone else, it's been, kind of a surreal time, for sure. I guess, I mean, I know a lot of people have suffered quite a lot during this time and lots of uncertainty and um, kind of stress and all those kinds of things. But in terms of, well, for me and in terms of my faith, it's been really good to have just time to kind of reset and to have some space and some solitude and just to kind of, I don't know, just reorient myself, I guess, in terms of, looking at my faith again and seeing where I'd like to maybe develop it a bit more in what areas. So it's been good for me in that respect. And I realize I've been quite lucky to have time to be able to do that and not to be, so worried about job security and financial things and, all of that other people have had to worry about. But it's been good to still be able to access Mass via Zoom. But also I've been lucky too, because I literally live next door to a church. So I do have access to the church and been able to have my own private prayer even before the churches were officially open. So that was a huge blessing for me. And so I'm really grateful to have had that opportunity. Anyway, how about you?
Yeah, I think I have found it really strange to tune into Mass online, especially when you're used to going to the same parish every weekend. It is strange not to be connected to community and things, but like you say, it's great that we're able to do that and still stay connected with people. I should have said this at the beginning, Lisa, but your accent is not from our diocese. It's certainly not Shrewsbury or Telford or Birkenhead or Manchester. Where are you from originally?
Texas.
From Texas. That's a
Yeah.
pretty long way to come from Texas to working for Shrewsbury Diocese.
Yeah, indeed. But that's been great though.
Yeah. Okay, so we going to move on now to talk a little bit about our church news and what's been happening in the wider church and also in our own diocese. Now, I like using social media, not just for work, but for personally. But somebody that I particularly enjoy following on Twitter is Pope Francis. Now, I know people say that's probably just because you work for the church, but he does actually put out some really profound, but also joyful and interesting tweets. So we're just going to show you one now. and that the Pope put out last week that got loads of different retweets and likes. And he said that friendship is one of life's gifts and a grace from God. Faithful friends who stand at our side in times of difficulty are a reflection of the Lord's love, his gentle and consoling presence in our lives. I really like that tweet because especially recently, I don't know about you, Lisa, and for everybody watching, but my friends were already a big part of my life. But over the last few months, especially in lockdown, it's been so important to have good friends around to keep us supported and happy, or also somebody just to rant to. So Lisa, how important are friends to you?
Yeah, well, they're hugely important. But you know, one thing I've always thought about is in terms of how God loves us is I always think that he loves us through the people he surrounds us with. And I've always disliked thinking about my friendships in that way. So it's been a real blessing to be able to have them around, especially with technology nowadays, and it's so easy to stay in touch and to reach out to friends and to have them reach out to me as well. One of my friends actually, she's a mom with 5 children, and during lockdown, and she was kind of homeschooling them, and during lockdown, every week or every other week or so, she would reach out to me on WhatsApp and just say, "How are you doing?" And I was just always so grateful because here she is super busy with all her children, and yet I came to mind, and she would send me a message, and I was just really grateful, and I just found it lovely that she would do that.
Yeah, that my friends have been the same. I mean, at the beginning, we've been at home for a long time now, but way back at the beginning, we jumped on the quiz bandwagon, and we were doing a quiz every Sunday night. Different people would write it every week, and that was really fun because a lot of my friends live right across the country. We've met through university or through church groups or different trips, and it was really nice actually to have everyone together virtually in one place, because we often don't get to do that. But I think people have made a particular effort over the last few months to reach out to their friends and really check in, see how people are doing. Not all of the times it's been a happy conversation. I've not had great joyful things to share all the time, but I know that my close friends, there's a group of 5 of us, I know that I can always talk to them about exactly how I'm feeling. I don't have to put on a face or pretend to be somebody that I'm not. And I know that those friends, we happen to be a Catholic group of friends that met through church things, and it's really nice for me that I know that those friends not only have my best interests at heart, but they want to help me to grow in my relationship with Jesus and in my faith as well. So have you ever experienced friendships like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think, as I was saying earlier, that God shows us His love through the people He surrounds us with, and also the way that they interact with us. And so, for instance, through my friend, the one that would, who's busy and would contact me, um, I would it just felt like, she was loving me and being kind and reaching out to me, as the Lord would really, and that He wants to check in with me too, and just see how I'm doing. I just think it's important that we're able to maintain contact with our friends, and equally that we're able to reach out to them as well. I mean, they minister to us, but then we can also reach out to them too. And I found that that's been kind of a good thing to be able to, for myself, to be able to do, because there are people that are struggling and that need to know that someone's out there and ready to listen to them as well. So it works both ways, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of friends, a really great friend of Shrewsbury Youth Mission Team, the now Father Robert, you might have seen him when he was deacon on our clergy cafe a couple of weeks ago, but he was ordained as a priest last week. And a few of us from the team, we watched the mass being live streamed on the TV, which I felt like I knew a celebrity on the telly, watching my friend on the screen and some of the priests that we know through the team as well. That was really great. And it was such a joy to see a friend who I've known for a few years and then has also supported us through work take that big step in his life. You know, this is like one of the biggest days of his life, just as if you were to get married, it'd be one of the biggest days of your life as well. But very strange to watch that on the TV rather than to be there in person. So hopefully you might be able to see a couple of pictures on the screen. So one of them you'll see Father Robert on my telly, being ordained by the bishop in the cathedral, but also a really special part of somebody's ordination is in the days following, they are able to say their first mass in different places. And because Father Robert is now based at my parish, I was able to go to his first mass all masked up in the church. It was the first time I've been to a church in months, so that was really nice to be able not just to go to mass for the first time and to receive Jesus in the Eucharist, but also for it to be celebrated by a friend of ours. So that was really super lovely. So if you know Father Robert, then maybe you might want to send him a message to say congratulations, and if you don't, then please pray for him and all of our priests, because they are doing a great job at the moment keeping our parishes running and reaching out to all of us who are still at home. Okay, so we are going to move on now. And again, friends have played a big part in this week's episode, because I was able to rope in my friend Bridget, who works for a charity called Aid to the Church in Need. And in a moment, we're going to play a little interview that I did with her yesterday, hence the quick outfit change that you'll see. And Bridget's going to share with us a little bit about what Aid to the Church in Need do, how they've been reaching out to people, but also just her personally, how she's been surviving this lockdown period. So hopefully that'll play in a moment for you all. Hi Bridget, thanks so much for joining us today. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So I am Bridget. I'm 31. I live in Lancaster in Lancashire, and I work for the charity Aid to the Church in Need. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my role today, along with a few other things. So that's me.
That's great. Thanks so much. So for those of you who don't know, Bridget and I have been friends for a long time, for about 10 years now. So it's nice that we've been talking a bit this morning also about friendship and holy friendships, where you are able to talk about your faith and what you do and to share a bit about your prayer as well. So it's really nice for me to be able to interview Bridget, especially about the work that she does for Aid to the Church in Need in my role, in my work. So, Bridget, Aid to the Church in Need do so much right across the world. And what's one project that they're involved in that you're particularly passionate about?
It was really hard to kind of pin it down to one project, but the project that stood out to me really is one in Lebanon, and it's in a city called Zaleh. And the project is called St. John the Merciful Table. And basically it's like a community kitchen. And where this city is in Lebanon is fairly close to the border with Syria. So I think it's been going for about 5 years now, this like community kitchen. And people can go there. So they're mostly refugees, but you do get some people from Lebanon who are there as well. And anybody can go. So it's run by the Catholic Church, but anybody can go along, no matter what religion you are, really. And you can go and get a hot meal and time to chat and to seek advice from people. And I think I've never visited it, I've just seen videos, but it seems like a really kind of beautiful sort of family atmosphere, a place where people can go for maybe an hour or two and just sort of let go of whatever their situation is and go and enjoy a meal, enjoy the company of friends and family, and access some help as well. So that's like one of the projects I think that's really, really, really special to me. So it'd be a dream for me to be able to go and visit something like that one day.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And obviously the work that Aid to the Church in Need does is often very hands-on as a wider charity, but also the work that you do in schools as well is normally in person, and obviously that's all changed recently, but what have ACN been doing to reach out to people during the pandemic?
Well, a lot of the so a lot of the projects that we work on, so usually so a little bit of background. So I work for Aid to the Church in Need here in the UK, but there are offices all throughout the world, and so on a global scale, we usually support about 5,000 projects every year, and when we get the figures later on, that may go down, or it might have gone up or stayed the same. We're not really too sure yet, but help is continuing to go out to countries that are in need. So whether that's supporting things that we always support, or looking for new ways as well. So I've just got a couple of examples to share with you. So in Siberia, where we do normally have projects, we've been supporting a number of different religious sisters there, and they're the ones that have been going out to, usually they minister to the homeless, which they have been doing as well, and also to families and other people that have been affected by the pandemic. So we've been able to support the sisters so that they can do their amazing work. In Brazil and in Syria and lots of other places as well, we've been providing food parcels and making sure that people have got their necessities. And like for like us in the UK, it has been like a strange experience, and it's really put us all out of our normal routine. But for a lot of us, we've been able to stay safe and stay at home. And kind of our biggest problem for many of us might have just been getting our food from the supermarket, and a little bit of hassle with that. But for loads of these countries, people have already been living in poverty or war or violence or loads of different things. And then like a pandemic on top of that as well has been quite difficult. So we've been continuing to support people in that way as well. And then finally, I just read this story this morning from Ukraine, and ACN have been providing like PPE equipment for the priests and like religious sisters and brothers that go to visit people in hospital. And I think they've provided, I think it's about 5,000 pieces of PPE in this one diocese in Ukraine, so that priests are able to go when people are dying and able to minister to them in that way, and even to just be with them and pray with them and give them the sacraments as well. So otherwise, without that equipment, they wouldn't be able to do that. So those are some of the ways. But as well, here in the UK, I work as part of the schools team, and we've been working really hard on a big project in lockdown, all to do with the ACN Child's Bible. And we've been doing videos every day and providing workbooks with little activities in, so that kids here in the UK can connect with the Bible, they can connect with ACN, but do something as well that keeps them busy and lets them have a little bit of a challenge as well. So we've been doing that since April, I think. So some kids have been doing it at home, and others that have been going to school have been doing it at school as well. So yeah, we've been doing lots of different things around the world and here in the UK too.
That's really great, because I think some people over the last few months have felt a bit helpless, like, you know, the world's kind of on pause, not much is going on, but it's really great to hear that here at home and also around the world, there are lots of people reaching out, helping others, and we've seen it in our communities, and it's great to hear that it's happening on a wider scale as well, everyone being there for each other. What's something that you love about your job?
I'd say it's hard for me at the moment, because the part that I usually enjoy the most is going out to visit schools. So I visit a lot of primary schools and high schools, and sometimes universities as well. And I'll go and either give talks, or I might give an assembly or a workshop, or just go in and like chat with students and teachers. And obviously I haven't been able to do any of that. And sort of looking forward, I think we're going to have to think of different ways to do that, and look at doing more things like this today, and virtual events and assemblies. So it's quite exciting. That's usually my favorite part. But I'd say as well is like getting to know, like just sharing some of the projects that I've told you about already, learning about what is going on in places around the world, and knowing that I am able to make a difference in some way. And it doesn't always feel like it when I'm sat in my office at home or at work, and I think, oh, how is me doing this helping somebody? But I have to just be aware that I'm part of the bigger picture, and the work that the ACN does to support people is amazing. And I play a little role in that, so that makes me happy.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling it a bit, like we're missing being out with people wherever you work. I'm sure people are missing the community, but I know, as especially at SYMT, it's really hard not being with the young people that we normally are, not being in the schools all the time, not being in parishes, and trying to figure out how we now all do that online has been a big challenge. But it's been really great for everyone to be able to use like that creativity in different ways to reach out and put our skills to the test, really. What's something that has been bringing you joy personally recently?
Well, I would probably say spending a lot of time. So I have a little dog, Duncan, and he's just over a year old, and he's had the time of his life in this lockdown. And so me and my husband, he works in a high school, and so he has been going to work sort of now and again, but been working mostly at home. And so Duncan has thought that it's like the best thing in the world that the three of us have been at home together. And I'm sort of dreading what life is. He's going to be so disappointed in September when my husband goes back to work and I start going back into more of a routine in my office as well. I think he's just going to be like, oh, my family. But yeah, it's been really nice to be able to spend that time with them, even like not necessarily sort of doing anything, even if I'm working in one room and my husband in the other. It's nice to know that we are just nearby, and that we can go out sort of straight after work and take Duncan for a walk, or just play with him out in the garden. And so it's been a real joy to know that as well. And also you'll know what's bringing me joy today as well, as we've both shared in that, but our newest little friend to our group of friends, our friend Sophie, another Sophie, had a little baby girl this morning, so we're so excited. So me and you are going to be new aunties to little baby Loretta. So it's a great joy that she has come into the world. So that's made me smile a lot today.
Yeah, definitely. It was really nice. Literally just before Bridget and I were chatting, we got that text through to say that little baby Loretta had been born. So we're going to have to do, we don't normally do shout outs, but we'll do a shout out to them because that's super exciting. That's one thing that I'm really grateful for in this pandemic, is it has been really hard being separated from people, but it's nice that we are able to all stay in touch, whether it's like a Zoom call or a text or a phone call. And I'm really appreciative that my friends, like Bridget, like the rest of our group, are really good at reaching out and seeing how people are getting on and how we're doing. If we need anything, we all live really far apart, but everyone's so willing to help out. And I have to admit that I did want to hear lots of stories about aid to the church in need, but I also did want to hear what Duncan's been up to recently, because I've not seen him in a few months and I definitely miss him. So one final question before we wrap it up. When in our other videos, our Clergy Cafe, we like to ask for a message for young people, but that might be a bit lengthy. for today. So I wanted to ask you, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received that you would want to pass on to others, especially the young people that we encounter in our work?
Oh, that's an incredible question. I think the advice to know, it's kind of cheesy, but like to always take up any opportunity of anything incredible that is offered to you. To listen to both your head and your heart. And if your gut is telling you to do something, then usually it's the right thing to do. And I guess for like those of us that are working with young people as well, or working with children, or anybody where you're not quite sure what the outcome is going to be, is always to know that God has a plan for you, and God has a plan for each of those people that you're encountering. So whether you are at work or at school, or if you're studying, the people you meet, you have an impact on them, and you might not know it now, but and you may never know it in the future, but know that God works through you to work in other people as well. So just take that into your heart, and have peace with that as well, that God is working through you, and he's doing good things through you.
That's really great. Thank you. And I know my life, and I'm sure your life as well, like I said, I've known you for a long time, definitely wouldn't be where they are today if we hadn't sort of said yes to random opportunities, whether that's to travel on mission to different countries, or like on a pilgrimage that you thought wasn't really going to be anything special. And then we've all had those experiences that all of a sudden you look back and you realize that they really helped you to become the person that you are today. I think how many years, 9 years ago today, we were all in Spain, in Madrid, for World Youth Day, as very young people, not knowing what life would bring. And here we all are now, having Zoom calls in the middle of a pandemic, but still trying to make a difference and reach out. This is an on-the-spot question, so I'm sorry to do this to you, but if people wanted to learn more about Aid to the Church in Need and the work that they're doing, or even to support you, where can they go for that information?
Of course, you can go to our website, which is www.acnuk.org. So you can go there. There's lots of like news articles and information about our events, our virtual events that are going to be happening throughout the autumn. And there is also the opportunity to donate through there as well. A little plug is for if you are looking for somewhere, and it's no like pushy kind of thing or anything, but if you have been moved by what's happened in Beirut in Lebanon, we are taking donations that are going to go directly to Beirut, to Lebanon, and you can make those donations through the website. So we're in the process of organising, it's about 250,000 euros worth of emergency relief that's going out to Beirut. So if you have been moved by what you've seen on the news, then you can donate through us, along with lots of other places too. And you can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and we post lots of bits and bobs on there too.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bridget, and for sharing everything. It's been really nice to chat to you. And I know I said I was done with questions, but I have one more question. Please, can we see a picture of Duncan? It's really cute.
Oh, of course.
Bridget did say she would share one with us.
He's been the best working at home buddy, keeping us motivated.
And we'll have seen a picture of cute
may not be
babies.
The best, but
there he is.
That's him there, hanging over the sofa, looking at me while I'm sitting at my desk at the dining room table.
Little work from home buddy, but he's off out walking today, isn't he, with his dad?
He is, yeah.
Not today. Well, thanks again, Bridget, for joining us today. It's been really great to have you, and hopefully we'll see lots more work from ACN, and next time we see it, we'll know who is behind it and who is supporting it. So thanks again, Bridget, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Great. So thank you for sticking with us through that little interview with Bridget. And don't forget that if you want to find out more about what Aids the Church in Need are doing, then you can go to the website that Bridget mentioned, and we'll also post a link to it on our social media later today when we post this video again later on. And we're going to continue our discussion about friendship now, and talk about our friends in heaven who are the saints. That's a bit of a mouthful to get out there. So Lisa, who is your favorite saint? I know there's lots to think about, but if you could pick one today, who would it be?
Oh gosh, that's very easy. That would be Pope Saint John Paul II. So just in case people don't know, well, everyone knows that Pope Francis is our current Pope, and before him was Pope Benedict, and then John Paul II was a Pope prior to that, and he was Pope for, I think, 25 plus years, for ages. But he's definitely one of my favorites, if not the favorite.
Yeah, mine too, actually. I think I have no Polish blood at all, but a lot of the Polish saints are very inspiring. What is it about John Paul II that is particularly inspiring to you?
I think his joy, and also how personable he was, really, because I've heard this more than once, that people would go in to have a meeting with him, or just to be in his presence, to talk to him or whatever, and they felt as if they were the only person in the room because he was so focused on them. And I just thought, gosh, what a great thing to be able to make another person feel like they're the only person in the world, at that particular point in time. So with loads of other things, but those are two things immediately that come to mind.
Yeah, it's definitely a great saint. If you don't know much about Pope St. John Paul II, then definitely look him up online. He's actually one of the patron saints of SYMT, for those reasons and for lots more. But coming up this Friday is the feast of another Polish saint, St. Maximilian Kolbe. And he was an amazing man. His whole life was very inspiring and very saintly. But he is actually one of the martyrs of Auschwitz. And a few years ago, when were we there? 4 years ago, around this time, a group of us from the diocese were in Poland for World Youth Day. And we were able to find out a bit more about his life. And we were actually able to go and visit where he died. And there was a video that came out afterwards of Pope Francis praying in the cell where St. Maximilian Kolbe was held in the prison camp, and it was so moving. So if you've not seen it, try and Google it on YouTube somewhere, because he gave his whole life for other people, even before the war. He was reaching out. He was a priest. He founded a religious order and communities and things, really just wanted his whole life to lead people to Jesus. And then he was arrested and gave his life for a man who was a husband and a father, because St. Maximilian knew how much that man loved his family, and he wanted him to still be able to have that gift of his family. So he's just a really amazing man. But I think his life has a lot to teach us, especially at the moment. So we're just going to show you a short video of a priest called Father Mike Schmitz, whose videos are always very inspiring and very relatable, that we like to use a lot. So here's a little bit more about St. Maximilian and the influence that he can have on our lives.
Well, hello. Welcome to my living room. Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. So I like talking about schedules a lot. In fact, if you were in this room right now, you would see that there are multiple schedules, multiple calendars up, some on the wall, like actually built into the wall. I could swivel the camera, but then I would never get this back the way it is. I like calendars, I like schedules, which means, conversely, kind of along with what another video might have mentioned about, I don't really like being interrupted. Like I'm like, I have my plan. I don't like interruptions. Hey, I'd love to meet with you. Let's get that on the schedule. I don't necessarily like the spur of the moment kind of meetings. Like I don't like, do you like surprise parties? I do not like surprise parties. Why? Because I like scheduled parties. Scheduled parties are the best parties. I like schedules. The enemy of schedule, interruption. And so I then end up thinking like, yeah, interruptions are the worst. I hate interruptions so much. And yet, this is the worst thing. And yet, almost every saint who's ever lived, they're a saint thanks to some kind of interruption. Like that's the reality. In fact, I can look at interruptions as an occasion of my frustration, as an occasion of like, this is an obstacle getting in my way, or I can begin looking at interruptions as the occasion for holiness. Here's what I mean. One of my favorite saints, Saint Maximilian Kolbe. You know, he was a man who was dedicated to the Lord. He was dedicated to the church. He was dedicated to evangelization and to the Franciscan order and serving people literally all over the world. He's a missionary, I believe, to Japan. He had come up with a number of ways to engage people with the gospel through, I was going to say social media, but through media. He was an evangelist. He was an incredible holy man. And then he was arrested by the Gestapo in World War II and brought to Auschwitz. And it was there that he willingly stepped forward. There were 10 men selected to be executed. And Maximilian Kolbe stepped forward, Father Maximilian Kolbe stepped forward and said, I'll take that man's place. The man said, I have a wife, I have a family, I have kids, please spare my life. And he said, I'll take his place. And the guards say, why? Who are you? And he said, I'm a Catholic priest. I don't have a family. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. You can take my life. And I think about this, like Maximilian Kolbe, he probably would be a saint even if he wasn't martyred. They took him and they starved him, and then he still wasn't dead after like 15 days. And so they injected his veins with a carbolic acid that poisoned and killed him very quickly after that, quickly after 2 weeks of torture. But yeah, think about this and think, here's Maximilian Kolbe, this incredible saint whose life was massively interrupted. He was just doing his work. He was doing his thing. And then here comes the Nazis coming to power, invading Poland where he lived. He was interrupted. Like his plans were interrupted in a massive way. But rather than that interruption being an obstacle, that interruption became an occasion for his holiness. Even this opportunity for, they're going to execute 10 people, and he's willing to say, no, I'll step forward. I'll let my life, my plans. I'm sure he had, in the prison camp, he was doing ministry. He was ministering to the men who were also at Auschwitz, but he let that be interrupted and said, that's not just an obstacle, it's an occasion for my holiness. And here's this paradigm shift. I see those interruptions as an occasion for holiness. Every saint who ever lived, at some point they were interrupted. At some point their plans, their schedule, their will, their deal was interrupted. Their life was interrupted. And they saw that as an occasion to say yes to God. That's my invitation. You're going to be interrupted today, tomorrow, the next day, the rest of our lives. Let's start saying, okay, God, what is it that you want from me in this interruption? What is it you want to do in me in this interruption? What is it you want to do through me in this interruption? Because this interruption is an occasion for your holiness. From all of us here at Ascension Presents, my name is Father Mike. God bless you. Like, subscribe, comment below. I hope you have an awesome day that's planned and yet at the same time, room for interruptions. Right? Okay, anyways, bye. That was lame. That was kind of corny. Oh well, I do my best.
Okay, so continuing Father Mike's theme of interruptions and how we can use those to our advantage, maybe a pretty obvious question, but how have our lives been interrupted recently?
The pandemic, obviously. But I also too, I think just, at a personal level, I mean, just, the little plans that we make for the day or for the week or for the month, that those could just go at any time, depending on, what's happening in the world, if, there's going to be another lockdown or, something. So it's been a time for me anyway, to just kind of hold on to any plans that I've made very loosely, knowing that could change at any point in time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had lots of plans for this year. Like we were going to buy a house, we were going to go on holiday, we were finally going to have our big honeymoon, and none of that has happened. But Lisa, you were sharing with us as a team in our meetings early in the week about, just enjoying the present moment, and that's all that we have. We can try and plan ahead, but really all we have is now, and to make the most of the day that we have right now. And that leads us quite nicely into our prayer time to close today. Thank you so much for bearing with us in our little bit of lateness and any technical difficulties that we've had. So I'm just going to ask Lisa now to read the gospel that we heard at Mass yesterday. And as Lisa's reading it, just think about what it means to you and how you're going to let it inspire you this week.
Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it's me. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. Then Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God."
And Lisa, if you wouldn't mind reading for us our weekly challenge based on this week's gospel, just to close up our time together today.
Sure. When something seems difficult, rather than getting frustrated, stop for a moment and ask Jesus to give you the strength, faith, and patience to get through it.
And we'll just end with this prayer, which quite nicely links together with Lisa talking about Pope John Paul II, because he was a great champion of young people. And often when he was talking to big crowds, he would talk directly to the young people. So we'll just finish with this prayer that he had for all of us. Dear young people, follow Christ with the enthusiasm of your youthful hearts. He alone can calm man's fear. Look to Jesus from the depths of your hearts and minds. He is your inseparable friend.
Thank you to Sophie and to Lisa for our Monday morning live on a Tuesday. It's only going to happen this once, we promise, okay? We are obviously going to be back next Monday, so please do join us live. But don't forget, there's loads more out there. This week's Clergy Cafe at 4 p.m. tomorrow will be with two of our seminarians, so please do join us for that. Don't forget, Aid to the Church in Need, check out their website. We'll post it below here as well in the comments, so you can go and have a look at that. Thank you to Sophie, who's here, and thank you to Lisa. And on behalf of all three of us, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we'll be here live on a Monday next week, not Tuesday. It will be Monday. So please do join us then. Have a good week, and we'll see you soon.